this is Real and Raw with Lynn Serrano. And this guy next to me, this guy right here, did it before the camera came up. He made me blush. What's your name again? I don't know who you are, but you made me blush.
Oh, no. I'm Lynn's other half, or her co-host, Brian.
or as we just were talking about how mean he was making me do homework.
Oh my God, I made her do 5 scores.
Oh my God.
Well, so just so everybody knows, I beat the record of 37 seconds to make Lynn blush. So it does pay to arrive to the show backstage a few minutes before we go live.
That's right. Yay! You did it. You made me blush. Oh my gosh, but it was fun. It was really, really fun. So
yeah. You have to prep for a show.
I thought I was just supposed to show up. That's my integrity. My integrity is to make sure I show up on time or early. That's my integrity. The rest.
What are we going to talk about for an hour? I don't know. I got notes all over the wall. I'm just going to pick a random word and see where it goes.
We'll save that.
Oh, man.
Oh my! Welcome to our silly show that we just love to just be real and raw and goofy, and we're as different but yet the same in so many different ways.
We are different.
We are different and same. It's so funny because the same thing is at the end of the day, we're gonna love each other. We're good friends, and we just get a kick out of each other. So.
I'm glad that everybody can, find some amusement out of our humor and silliness.
That's and some of you guys that are just showing up because I noticed you weren't here at first. Is Brian, before we even started camera, had me blushing like literally seconds before we got on here. So he beat his time. Yeah, he beat his time. We were talking about him being mean, and
I would do my dance moves, but nobody wants to see that.
Oh my goodness! So what do we get?
We might, after I do my dance moves, all the listeners that we have or watchers, they're just gonna.
Yeah. Our membership just went down when you said something about dancing. So
I do have to say a couple things. Is that to recognize everybody that's live with us right now. We thank you for being here and taking your time. Now that we're back at regularly scheduled programming time, and also though to everybody that is tuning in that watches this later. We are deeply grateful and honored that you're tuning in and on this journey with us, all about relationships and just to be here with us. So we're grateful to our entire viewership.
Absolutely. I just so what are we going to talk about today? Hey. I've been talking to my Canadian friends.
You are close to Canada with Montana.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know if you went to Canada or tried to get across the boundary or something, over the line.
I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, you're not wearing plaid today, so I had to guess. So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. And to me, it's along with trust and respect. I think that relationships cannot be what you want them to be at the deepest level possible without the topic we're going to talk about today, and that is integrity. This topic is something I've studied for at least 10 years, where it shows up in my life, how you get out of integrity, how you restore it. And it's all about what comes out of your mouth through the use of language. And to me, it goes to my core, and it's vital everywhere in life, no matter where relationships are. It makes no difference if it's a work relationship or a personal relationship or an intimate relationship. It makes absolutely no difference. And the crazy part about it is that we control it. And it's like everything that comes out of our mouth is we're either committing to it or not. And we have a say in the matter. So integrity is one of my all-time favorite topics to talk about, just because we choose it.
And it's sad because so many people don't realize the core of who you are and what you say is your integrity. Yeah. Especially when you're making promises to people, especially when you're in the business world, especially if you're a GM especially if you're a boss and you tell your employees, that's leave it at that. But
I
trying
think
to
there
be
might have been a story there.
maybe a smidgen. But I used to work with somebody, and I can't help it if you know where I worked the last 9 years. But anyways, I used to work with somebody, and all they did was contradictories and terms every time. Say, let's do this, and then, and empower you to do this, and then be mad if you didn't, or if or they changed their mind, and it just was not a good, it was not a good thing. So integrity is something else that.
And in the crazy, well, to me, the most profound thing in integrity, besides that we declared and we are in control of it, is that life can be simple with integrity. I mean, obviously, integrity is something that is a moment by moment thing. But if you live your life by integrity, you've trained yourself to be like, ooh, I was out of integrity there. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person or you need to have self-limiting beliefs or make yourself wrong. It doesn't mean any of that. You can take it that way, but it's not going to be constructive. You can just restore your integrity. I mean, this goes all the way down to everything you give your promises to. And so, like when people show up and they say, oh, this person was late or that person's late, and I'm like, in my book, that's unacceptable. If somebody determines that somebody's time is worth more possibly than their own because there's a reason why they show up early, you'd want that other person to feel the same way.
Absolutely.
And it's like all the way down to, blaming it on the roads or blaming it on the weather. It's like none of that matters. Integrity is a no excuse or blame zone. If you are fully living integrity, it's without any of that. You take ownership everywhere in your life for everything you give your word to, period. There are no concessions. There are no scenarios where it doesn't apply. And I think that people want to contour things in their life that would make them feel good about something that it was okay for them to not give their word to after they gave their word. Does that make sense?
Yeah, including the fact that, I didn't realize how sick I was or this disease I had with my stomach. And I used to promise my kids, let's go here, let's go there. And then I would get sick. And that was awful. And then they would say, but Mom, you promised. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I promised.
Yep.
I mean, I would be really sick. Like I'd be in the bed, like it was not good.
Right.
And it really tore myself up that I would make promises to my kids. We didn't, and then finally, yes, hi.
Hey, Lynn, we're her people. We're her people.
Oh, yes, I love it. But it just that tore me up on top of being sick. Like I'd say, okay, you guys, let's eat, and then we're gonna go, and then I couldn't. And so, I got to a point where I'd say, okay, I promise if I, if I feel okay. And like, I never knew when I'd get migraines constantly. It was either my stomach and it was like, to me, it was no excuse, but I didn't, it was just awful for my kids for that, so I'd always say, we'll have to see. And it was terrible because it was, to me, no excuse. Yeah. But they could see how sick I would get. It was so random back then. And, but then, when we figured it out, they're like, okay, Mom, then they were so good about, Mom, you can't eat this, Mom, you this and that. And I wasn't the hypochondriac. I wasn't the, oh, maybe I can eat this or I can't, or I wouldn't want compromise, but my kids would start cooking special for me and they were just sweet, but they knew that as long as Mom's okay, we got this going, Yeah. But it was a difficult thing, especially when I want to keep my word to them, and there were sometimes I really went with them and I was truly sick and it wasn't a good experience, but that's how important integrity is to me when I keep my word to my kids or anything. It just, they knew that I wouldn't say promise and then I had to compromise certain things. But when I promised, I promised. And that's all you have is your word. Yeah. And, and my business even showed me that. Because if somebody says, you can't come over, I wasn't going to get paid. I needed to find another party to do or whatever, but integrity is just, people don't understand how much that affects the person you're dealing with.
One of the biggest things that when you break integrity down, it's a mindset and a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing. It's not an intangible force. It could be, I guess, but it's a way of being, and it shows up every day and every moment for everything that comes out of your mouth, all the way down to saying you're going to go get milk or gas up the car or do that project you dread to do. Nobody said those words, but then when you have to own up to those words, I think, and here's the funny part about it. People conjure up so many different excuses and blame about why they can't do something, which makes them look silly, by the way, right? And also might be potentially embarrassing. They conjure up all this stuff in their head about why they can't do it versus just to restore it. I didn't do it when I was said I was going to do it. Here's when I'll do it by.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, one's reality may not be that simple if they're just getting started into looking at integrity and living life by integrity. But I can tell you what, the more that you flee from it, the more it's going to eat you alive. If you are true to your word, it gets so much easier that if you were out of integrity, like Lynn, I said I was going to do this by this time or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
I can conjure up all these different excuses and blame, but does it change the action I said I was going to take? No.
And why do people not set them up? And I think you already know this by now, that I come out and say to people, hey, like I'll say to you, Brian, I'll get that out by 4 or 5 o'clock. I mean, like I give myself, I think I usually deliver before my deadline. I mean, I truly, if I give a deadline, that's it. And so why do people not for a minute say, Brian's going to ask me, hey, Lynn, can you get this graphic done? Why would I answer, oh yeah, I'll do that right now, when I know that I do not like to be pressured like that? Instead, I'll say, hey, can I get that done by 5 o'clock? It's on my list. For me, I guess because I'm a free spirit and because I give my life a chance to have an emergency phone call with one of my friends. I have to pick up my granddaughter, be there for my kids. I give myself a cushion to be spontaneous as much as possible. So if I put a list of things that need to be done before I go to bed, so be it. But I want to have the freedom to do it when I want to, with the knowing that it needs to be done by this specific time. Yeah. And I mean, I think sometimes I said, Brian, yeah, I'll get that done in a couple hours. And what do I do? In the next half an hour, I get it done. But I don't care. If I didn't feel like it, and I also take time out if I have stomach issues or I don't feel good. I always have to take some time for that, because I never know. I mean, I deal with this on a constant basis, but it truly has kept me to saying, why not give yourself space to always deliver before you need to deliver? Well, you just feel so much better.
Well, and to me, this is an amazing tool. This 3 pounds of matter we call a brain. Okay. However, though, once it gets in here, it's volleying with everything else that your brain is trying to do. And if it's not in the hemisphere of the brain that you're working in, what I mean by is if you're using your creative brain, bundle those things together that are creative. Because if you do something opposite, your brain can't easily shift, at least in my experience, it can't easily shift from what hemisphere it's in.
Exactly. Exactly. Like last night, I just finished working with Catherine on our production, and I told her, yeah, tomorrow I'll work on some graphics. And I mean, I gave myself some leeway, because I don't need them till technically 5 o'clock tomorrow. Right. Mm-hmm. But last night I just was creative because I had no pressure. I was just kicking them out, just cranking it out, and, but again, I gave myself permission to be creative, and sometimes for my shows, I have the thing where I'm like, Lynn, because I like to get things done beforehand, but sometimes how I'm feeling, I've got to put that in consideration now. And it's usually been working out that in the morning, I can actually be creative and ready for my show. But that antsiness of me of trying to get ready and be prepared way beforehand hits me. So I'm like, Lynn, calm down. You don't have anybody pressing you. Be nice to yourself. And I get more creative that way. So, I mean, I deal with the things, those emotions or whatever. And I like compartmentalizing them. Sometimes I get stuck on that word.
I'm not going to challenge you on that word. Is one of the other things that we contend with when things go in the brain that we don't take action upon is that we have to think about it again. And I can't speak for everybody, but once it gets into here, then it's put into a hierarchy. It's put into a priorities of like what I'm going to do, when and where. And it is, if it's something I just did or I don't want to do, when I'm in a flow state, bring everything on that's related to that world, cutting videos, shooting things, doing any computer work. Right. But then when I go relax and read something or whatever, I'm not going to be creating graphics. I'm going to be doing analytical things or thinking things. Right. When you have this volley in your brain back and forth, that's when it's very difficult to know if you're coming or going.
Right.
Versus using your day to how you are wired as a person. If you're wired as a morning person, well, then if you get your best creative energy, you'd be foolish not to use the morning for that. If you're a night person, whatever it is, stack the deck into what projects you need to get done when and where, but also they'll just remember if they've been things that you've held off for a long time, you're going to have to contend with the meaning that you associated with them. And you're going to have to overcome that before you will do it.
Right. And
that's the poison right there, is because whatever you conclude in your head, it's going to be too difficult. It's going to take too long. I don't want to do it. You're going to have to overcome that in order for it to ever be completed.
Right. And what's been helpful for me, especially with the way my brain works with my injuries and stuff, is I come out and say, okay, Lynn, pay attention to what your mannerism is, just analyze myself. Okay, what do I do? What time do I like to eat at times? What time do I, have chaos with my granddaughter, which she's great, so I don't have much chaos, but, just different things to get some kind of rhythm and schedule so that I can work in those time frames, and I'm staring a lot with looking at time frame and saying, wow, this looks, I'm structuring things, but the cool thing about structuring is I'm analyzing what works for me, what, time of day, am I too tired or not? Or, so finding those zones kind of help you with that whole thinking of strategically as well as making lists. So
I think too, and I deal with this because once this is going, it doesn't matter how much or how little sleep I got. When this thing is firing, I want to capitalize on it. I mean, right. I could be writing creative ideas and fall asleep writing them, right? My body needs rest, but my brain wants to be awake, right?
Right.
So when I go to bed, I make sure that, and it comes and goes, right? It's a vicious cycle. But for me to actually sleep for 7 or 8 hours, my norm is anywhere between 6 to 6.5. But what I can say though, when I have that extra rest, I eat better. I make better choices. My brain isn't sporadic, right? I stick with things until I get them done, and then I'm very thorough with them. The make wrong, the self-limiting beliefs, and the things I say, if things aren't going as fast as I want them to, or technology is not communicating or whatever, I get rid of all that just on the basis of getting better sleep. And it blows my doors off that could be a root of things.
Oh yeah. I've been forcing myself to lay down and even if I don't sleep, but lay down and rest for 8 hours. And I get up a few times a night or whatever. And it's been great because I'm like, no, you need this. And it does make a big difference when you can get some kind of
And I think that it's, at least for me, and I don't know if this is true for everybody, but you also have to have that downtime before you actually go to sleep. Because otherwise then your brain is not doing what it normally does, where it needs to tone down. I mean, you don't go full bore all day and then all of a sudden tone down this muscle when it's just firing and all of that, and then just go to nothing.
I laugh because I'm realizing a trick for me is let me turn on the TV. Let me put on I like watching Bachelorette and stuff, and but check this out. It's been on for 4 or 5 weeks now. I'm still in the first episode. Kid you not, the last week or two, because when I turn it on and I put my sleep timer anyways, I just have to put it on and it calms me down. I don't even watch it. I'm like, okay, that's what works. I mean, that's what works.
Whatever you can do to get when that time of day is like after the workshop yesterday with Scott on storytelling. You know, I was up early because it was stockpiled. The day was stockpiled before the workshop. And then there was a 5-hour workshop. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be spent mentally after that. I'm just going to be spent. And so I stacked the deck in terms of like, okay, I'm going to get all my work done before and not feel guilty about not working for a few more hours after the workshop got done at 4 p.m. Central. So, you know, but obviously, the integrity part about it is that I'm going to do those things without sacrificing anything before I need to get on the workshop,
Right.
And obviously having our show live with everybody here yesterday, it was at a different time, but we still maintained integrity that we were going to do a show instead of just saying, no, we're going to be off today. No, so
that was a 2-hour early thing for me. So yeah. But we do what we got to do, and that's how today I've got to get prepared for my show tomorrow. I've got actually a consultation before my show with Jerry tomorrow, and then I've got that, and then I've got you. So, and then some downtime before I have my new show tomorrow night, which I'm pretty freaking excited about.
If you're not producing more shows and just crazy busy, I'd be very surprised by, I don't know, March.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm actually producing 4 different shows a week. So, and I'm loving it, and I'm just crafting what I want to do. And, nothing's being impeded by one thing or another. It's just, I'm getting more efficient with it. So I'm really enjoying that. And I love the fact that it is keeping my integrity. I promise things and commit to here. I commit to my personal show and do my thing, and then we've got the little Bubba Bar thing going on. We're gonna do again this week. There it is. So
dun, dun, dun. There he is.
Yeah, there it is. So we're gonna do that this next week. But I mean, I'm just really enjoying the integrity of promising you guys all different things, and I'm pretty proud of myself that despite my health issues and stuff, I'm showing up. And but I'm working with people that I love, I respect, I admire, that appreciate me as well. And they have integrity, and they too respect my time and my space. And no one's saying, well, you're not spending time over here. Like there's a little piece of me to go everywhere. And I'm just blessed by that. It's just the integrity of the people I'm working with. I mean, I'm pretty spoiled. I mean, I don't think I can ever have another guy co-host like you. I mean, it's just, it's nice. It's just amazing what you can do when you surround yourself with the people that have the same integrity and the same desire to,
I think that for, obviously there's definitions of integrity, and prior to the show, I didn't do my homework. I forgot to get a definition of integrity. So we know exactly what that language, I think that the language is it's undeniable. I mean, there is a definition of integrity, but it's like, I want to go for the feelings of integrity. It's like you mentioned, if you were to have another male co-host, okay. But it's like, integrity is when you feel like it's strong and you have it with somebody, and then when you don't, that difference is not measurable per se.
Here you go, my friend. I just did this.
But the biggest distinction between the two is how you feel. Do you even want to do that show with that person anymore? Do they create a lot of headaches? Are they unpredictable? Or do you always know what you're going to get out of that person, because anything that comes out of their word, you're taking them at it, versus like, yeah, they ain't going to do that. Or I'm going to have to do their work plus mine.
Right.
Eventually you're going to want to wash your hands of that and be done.
Right.
Okay.
So hold on. I just did this, and it broke it off, but I'm going to finish the rest here. So,
okay. So definition of integrity is the practice of being honest and showing consistent and uncompromising.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm just trying. I'm sorry, Brian.
That's okay. Thanks everybody for being here. Our normal peeps, along with everybody catching on the replay. We're grateful and honored that you're here joining us as we continue on with the discussion of of relationships, and today specifically with integrity. So the definition that Lynn pulled up is
And excuse me, there's another piece that I'll put up after you read this.
So the integrity, just from a definition standpoint, so we can really be grounded, is the practice of being honest and showing a consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles and values. Okay. In ethics, integrity is regarded as the honesty and truthfulness of accuracy of one actions. Wikipedia. Excellent. Excellent.
So let's go back to this part.
So practice. How about we flush this out? Just for a couple minutes, how about we flush out words that really, really speak to us? For me, it's a practice. The first one is practice, that there is no right and wrong here. You determine what it is for you, and you create a framework, or you create a foundation that works for you. Let's see here.
So can I use it? So
Sure,
can I, so that being that honest part, right? It's just like if Brian's asking me for something, and I don't need to give him excuses or tell him anything. But if I want to be honest with him and I want to show consistency of keeping my word, being honest would be, instead of giving him all the excuses, say, look, I can't do that right now, but can I get that done by 5 o'clock for you? Would that work for you?
Yep.
That's me being honest, because but I don't need to sit there and say, well, I got to go pick up my granddaughter, and I got to go do this, and I got to go do that. And, if this doesn't work, and I got to go to the doctors, and if I go to the doctors and he sets me down the blood work and do this, and this and that. So I don't know if I can do that for you, Brian.
Well, and did you ever notice, and I was going to mention this earlier, but I didn't, but you did right here, is that with integrity, it can be very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go on and on and on and on. And it's like, the deeper you get, the less relevant. Number one, nobody wants to hear all that. Number two is that the easiest thing on the planet for somebody to do is admit to it and then restore their integrity. It's that freaking simple.
Right.
I didn't want to swear there, but it's that damn simple.
Well, it's just like, if you're expecting me to get something done by a certain time, then I would say, look, to be honest, I can't do that specific time, but it alleviates that thereafter. It alleviates, I used to be I used to collect debt and stuff. I used to be a bill collector type of thing. And I used to tell people, don't make me promises you can't keep. Seriously. Tell me that you can't get that done in 2 weeks. I'll accept that. But don't tell me you're going to pay me this Friday when you can't pay me next Friday. Now, I will help you and not ding your credit if you can give me an honest thing. You break a promise for me, then that's on you. Again, it's all about integrity. I just can't stand when people lie to your face when they have no idea, or that they don't even expect to keep what they just said to you. Right. It's just the biggest. So anyways.
Well, and here's another thing too, Lynn. Neurologically, integrity is best kept in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You may not know how you're going to figure it out or how you're going to work in your schedule, but you find time.
Right.
Do what it takes to figure it out. That could take an act of God, for Pete's sakes. It doesn't really make a difference, but you find a way to get it done because you gave your word to it.
Absolutely. And even when you think, so if someone passes away or if somebody ends up in the hospital or something like that, I would hope Brian would be compassionate and say, I totally understand. And, that's a good excuse. If something like that's immediate. That's not like, oh, I got to take care of this because I did this for Brian, but we're talking about in realistic. Because let's just face it, if I want to go, catch up with Bachelorette or something, and I'm like, Brian, I don't know when I get to do this because I got 3 episodes. That's 3 hours. I can't be bothered right now. That's a freaking excuse. That's just, it's a matter of priority. It's a matter of different things, or if I said, Brian, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I promised my granddaughter I'm going to take her somewhere.
Right.
It's not an excuse, but it's me saying I already committed time for something else and I truly can't find the time. But what's wrong with saying that than saying, oh shit, I'm not going to tell Brian that I'm taking my granddaughter somewhere. Yeah. Matter of fact, what was it? I was at my daughter's house, baby house sitting, and I said she's expected to come home at 6:00. Expecting. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get this done because it's truly out of my control for that. So I'm just being honest to say, I'm always careful to say, yes, let's do this. But I'm, it just saves so much time, integrity. I mean,
Well,
it just.
One of my buddy of mine, Todd, there's been a couple times when he's been running late or I've been running late or I left late or whatever. Okay. And it's like, even to get there to be like, hey dude, let me buy you a cup of coffee. I'm out of integrity. The first time I said that to him, he was, it's like a deer in headlights, or I had, a mohawk or something, right? Nothing wrong with a mohawk. It's just not my look. Right. But that's what it is. When you live your life from a standpoint of integrity, it's what you do regardless. It doesn't matter. You don't make concessions for these people and those people. That's not integrity. Integrity is uniform across all people, all parts of your life, for everything. And when you can say to somebody, I was out of integrity because I was 2 minutes late, what happens is, number one, they're probably going to look at you funny because nobody says that. Okay. That's number one. Number two is that if you let 2 minutes propagate, what else is it going to look like? Who else are you going to do that with in your world? Right. And if they're on time, but you're not, well, they obviously
Well, that was interesting just now. I don't know. He got so excited. He got stuck. I don't know what happened there to Brian, but hopefully he'll be back. You got too excited for the system.
Earwaves.
Oh my gosh, that was wild. Oh my god.
Earwaves, apparently.
Oh my gosh. Welcome back.
His own apparently today, or he doesn't like me talking about integrity.
I know, right? So all right, that was just crazy. Now my dog's getting excited over here.
So him there, you need to let him out.
No, he's good. He can wait.
Okay.
So
yeah, go back to the other one. We got some more unpacking to do there. Okay, so then for me, the other words that just stand out quickly, because I know we got to keep moving on this discussion. Consistent. It's in the moment. It's at all times. You're never off the hook. Your word is always your word is always going to be under scrutiny until proven otherwise, or it's going to be held skeptical until proven consistently. Right. And then uncompromising. That to me is one of the biggest words in this first part. Uncompromising is that whether or not you know what to do or how you're going to do it, you find a way.
Yeah, because you said you remember that it was you opened your big mouth.
Yep.
You said you were going to do that. Now you got to do it.
Yep.
That's it.
And I love that, because then I can see people sweat, and to even get them to a point where they commit and instead of going off, because one of the common things is that when you pin somebody down specifically to what they're going to do, their mind wants to go off, talk about something else. No. Bring it back. Are you committing to this? It's a yes or no thing. It's not a maybe or someday or whatever.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be that confusing, difficult.
No, but so many people are flippant in integrity. They're so flippant, and yet I'm very cautious of what I commit myself to always. Right. And I think you've noticed that about me. I will over promise, and deliver. I mean, like I take that to the point where, and I've got to take the fact that, I could use an excuse of my health, but I refuse. You've heard me, you've seen me being all dizzy here. Like, I will show up until, I remember one time I had a bachelorette party to do, and granted I had somebody working for me so they could cover for me, but I literally was in the heart unit. Like, I was in the emergency. Like, I only had a pulse of 38. Like, my sats were down. And I'm like, dude, Doc, you got to get out of here. I have a party to do. He's like, you're not going nowhere. And I'm calling my bachelorette and said, look, I have such and such covering for me, but I'm so sorry that I can't do it. She's like, Lynn, you can't help it. I'm like, oh, I can't help it. I told you I'd be there and I can't, but truly it was one of those things where I wasn't giving myself an excuse for the fact that I was like flatlining to not show up to her party. It's just that's, I'm ingrained by that. It just,
it blows. Like, one of the fundamental things I do to somebody that I do for somebody I've never met before, if they talk about whatever they are, I'll take them at their word, but what creates that word is their actions.
Yeah.
And we're going to get that in the next part of this definition, but you say first, you do second.
Right. And it's funny because it just came to me that the reason why I'm so hardcore on this integrity and everything is I've had so many people in my life not keep their word to me. And that really taught me and how it made me feel every time they did that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very emotional thing. Mm-hmm. And even though I've gotten past all that emotional stuff, I just choose not to inflict those emotions onto someone else.
Yep.
And that's truly what it comes down to. And I was speaking to somebody the other day that felt this main sense of all this drudgery stuff to them. And I said, have you not thought for a moment you did that to somebody else? Exactly. And right now you're reaping what you sowed out there. And I hate to say it, but it's good that you now finally feel what a shithead you were to somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
So
people that live out of integrity, they're always the one that are the first. They take proactively what they're out of integrity for, what they're all about. They take ownership of by being the first person to communicate and be in communication about it. When somebody is out of integrity, either they don't commit or they get defensive when it's like, well, wait a minute, you said you would be here or do this by this time, and they never want to be. They regret ever giving you their word because now you're the bad person for calling them out on it. But it's like, wait a minute, if your word doesn't matter to you, don't ever give it.
Yeah. Right.
Period.
Yeah. Say, I'm not committing to that. I'm not going to commit to that.
Right. I mean, it's very simple, but what gets in the way is how they're going to be viewed, and it always happens. They'll say it to your face, they will, but then what do they do behind the scenes? They kind of mutter it underneath, behind the facade known as social media or something that, no, I ain't going to do that. Or at the very worst, they insult you by not saying anything or not being in communication at all.
Right.
So they take something in the moment that is so simple and we can easily move on from, if you feel their heart, they're honest, they're upfront, and they restore their integrity, or they just propagate potentially having disruptions all over their life based on this whole thing, Shannon, thanks for being here.
And he said truth. Yep, absolutely.
So let's go back to the previous slide, Lynn. I want to hear your thoughts about words before we move to the second half of definition. Okay. What words stand out to you in the second part?
This is the first part. Line. Oh, the second line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What words stand out to you in that?
The whole bottom thing. I mean,
okay.
Adhering to being strong in keeping your word and your moral to you. You would hope other people would have the same as you, and you can't expect that. But at least if you hold it, you have control into your portion and your ethical principles and values. If you stay stern as your compass of gave my word, this is what I'm doing, then the rest should follow. And like I said, I mean, there's sometimes I feel real sick and I should be going to the hospital and I stay home, but I say to myself, okay, you're going to go to the ER? No. Then you're going to do this shit, because that's, so I'm like, and but I'm just saying, it's just.
And here's the thing, principles and values, Nobody that is out of integrity ever takes the position of those that are involved in what they're a part of, right?
Yeah, and I love what she's saying here. The absolute must be
I must sleep well at night. Thank you for
Yep,
that
and
contribution, Shannon.
exactly. That's exactly how I feel. At the end of the day, if I promise somebody something, I'm going to do what I said. And, it really is as simple as that. Are you ready to go to the next part?
Well, there's one more piece.
Okay.
Is
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But it's that nobody that is out of integrity ever takes the position or the feelings point of who they affected. You know what I mean? Like they gloss over it. They're totally disconnected. They disregard it like nothing ever
It's
happened.
because they love their freaking excuses. They figure, oh, well,
Well,
shit,
here's the thing.
screw
It didn't affect me, so therefore I don't care.
Yeah, and that's not cool.
Nope.
That's not cool.
Nope.
That's not cool. But you know what? I believe in karma. I believe it's going to come around some other time. So what else?
When my dad was alive, he had, for people that wronged him and whatnot, something that infused me is that karma is a blank. And I'll just leave it at that. That's what my dad said.
Karma is a bitch. I'll say it for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So.
So then the second part of this, integrity is regarded as the honesty and truthfulness or accuracy of one's actions. I mean, a lot of these words we talked about, honesty is a repeat, truthfulness, that's where in that moment, it's like, if you can't get something done to somebody or for somebody, you're just right there, narcissistic. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, and I love challenging people. Like if somebody, like there might be some, like, people from being around them, but like if somebody has a tendency not to live their life with integrity, they have a certain look on their face when you're not testing them on purpose, but it's like, oh, one of the best questions is tell me, how do you plan on doing that? Just help me understand. Like, what's your first thing?
Well,
and then they talk about something else, so they want to leave,
Yeah, because you just busted them that they were, oh shit, I said that, but I had no intention to do that. Oh,
exactly.
Shit. Because exactly. It really is. Well, okay, that reminds me, like when you get a phone call and you I used to get people like this when I bill collect, I'd say, hey, write this phone number down. And you tell them, they go, I go, can you repeat it? And at first I say, you wrote that down, right? Yeah, you got that, right? So what's the number I gave you? Make sure.
I love back in the day that springs a thought. I remember back in the day when the thing known as Yellow Pages was around, where they would sell advertising.
Yeah.
And I remember this one, and a part of my triple major from my undergrad, one part is advertising. And so this was advertising for my business, and this person calls up and they're just like, we can guarantee you business. My question to them is, I'm like, so how are you going to guarantee me business? Because if this advertisement doesn't work and I have to dip into money out of my own pocket to pay you, how am I earning business? Can you guarantee me a paycheck to pay you for your service? And the person's like, no. And I said, well, how come you're telling me that you can guarantee me business then?
Yeah. That's just like
person hung up.
That reminds me when my daughter, she went for her ultrasound with my first grandson. She said it was a boy. I go, are you sure? She goes, oh, I'm sure. I said, wait, you're sure enough that if it's a girl, you're going to go and take all these boy clothes back and go shop for the right stuff, right? She goes, well, I don't know about that. I'm like, okay, I knew there'd still be a little margin of error, so I rest my case. Shannon says.
So Shannon says, and thank you for contributing, Shannon. We're really grateful for this. That's very true. I don't know how they do it because it takes far more energy to act and be. Oh yeah,
I know.
Don't get me started. There was a couple days ago. There was a lady that contacted me for advertising on their directory stuff, and they do it in a 2-part system. They send you an email and then they call you. Okay. The templated email, you can see it, right? The phone call is right according to the book to try to make you feel guilty, try to, do a fear tactic. And I'm like, wow, could you just please Draft up an email or a message that's not scripted or templated, please. I mean, seriously, like, I get it, that's a corporation and whatnot, but you're not winning over people by your sincerity.
Right.
You're making yourself look bad. So Sandra says, what are your thoughts on people that continue to make excuses and cross your boundaries in your life as to length of time you keep them around? That's a tough thing. I mean, I'm not in your world, Sandra, but all I can say is that there will probably become a moment, who knows when it might be. I guess you have to waver. I don't know the scenario, so I'm out of context here. McDonald's, I stick with 3 strikes there, man.
Well, as far as, and I've dealt with this, what's your thoughts on people who continue to make excuses and cross your boundaries? One thing is I consider the source. Okay. And considering the source, I realize that they make excuses and they don't respect you. Mm-hmm. And when you realize that, this reminds me of my ex-boyfriend who, he'd always be late and didn't respect what that meant to me. And he made me late for my daughter's wedding rehearsal.
Wow.
And so, that was not cool. 6 minutes, man. I'm never late to nothing. I mean, my daughters even know that, and it truly, knowing those things. So then the next day I was like, you know what? I don't give a shit how you get to that wedding. I'm getting there my own self. I don't care. You have to take a stance and say, I realize how they are, but that's not going to alter what I want as an outcome. You truly realize the source and you say, I know you're going to be late, or I know this, and that. That's fine. And I hate to say it, but I guess just assume their behavior as far as their integrity and make provisions to keep your integrity. And I have a thing, because I was a New York State peace officer. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you can say will be held against you. I do that to people. I ain't gonna lie. I will use your own words against you. And therefore, my answer would be, well, being how you said this, I did that. I totally encapsulate where they're coming from and said, and I took these measures. And that's how I did it. And when you continuously treat them that way, they sometimes remove themselves because they realize all you're going to do is hold what they did against them.
Sandra, I love this question, and thank you for being, unless it's seriously affecting me, to cut them off. Sandra, my advice to you, if for something to consider, it's not for everybody, but it's the most direct and it's the most freeing. Have a conversation with this person about exactly where you are. There's no hiding. It's direct. It's succinct. You get to hear everything that comes out of their mouth, and they get to hear yours, your frustration, your disappointment, whatever it is, right? This back and forth type of stuff through whatever medium doesn't work unless it's direct, right? Also, though, another thing to consider is that I agree with what Lynn said as far as who that person is. However, depending on how the person's wired, they may not even know that they're doing this stuff.
This is true. You got to have that hard conversation.
Have a clue. And for them to just get it, I think is a disservice to both of you.
Right. Oh, and he knew about how I felt when he'd be late. So there was no question.
Seeing in Sandra's scenario where there's a lot of her effort and time. I don't know the scenario, but if you're investing time with people, there are some things you're doing just by default, feelings, help, whatever it might be. And the thing that people want to do the least, especially if feelings and emotions are involved, is the thing you need to do the most, and that's a conversation. Now, there's a caveat. I'm that kind of direct person. If this isn't going well, as tough as it may be, if I can face death in the eye, I can face a conversation with somebody that is either going to be in my life or not going to be in my life.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing, Sandra, it may not be for you. I get that. But how much more of your life do you want to invest in something that one day you hope it just gets better or it doesn't, right? Instead of saying your piece, and then as time goes on, if you drift away with this person or drift from this person, you don't ever have to live with regret from sharing exactly what you felt and what was on your mind.
I agree. Hey, and Charles, we're
Charles is here.
Yeah, and Charles and I left it kind of open, but he and I are gonna plan a talk after here. So that's my integrity. I didn't give him a specific time, but I said anytime after my show. So there you go, as far as keeping my integrity.
Thanks for being here, Charles, man.
Thank you.
I don't tell you enough about how much you matter to me. And, if you haven't seen me on Jeffrey's lives, a couple days in a row, but I know you're with me when I'm doing my walks in 10-degree weather, 5-degree weather. And you're just such a kindred spirit to me, and I'm grateful for you. So thanks for doing that.
So I look forward to actually, he and I have never chit-chatted. So we're going to catch up and chit-chat. So I'm really looking forward to that today. So Shannon, it gives advice to trust me.
I know it's hard, but consider the effects it's having on you. I'm sure you have other people in your life that need you. Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
And here's the thing is that you can either sit with where it is right now in hopes and wishes and praying that it turns out differently. But if there's evidence that it hasn't, all it is a hope and a wish.
Right.
But your heart doesn't feel better with hopes and wishes.
Right. And not only that, like you said, the big, huge key is sometimes you need to take people aside and say, you know what, every time you do this, or every time you talk like this, or whatever, can we not do this again? And you might, and some people are the here and now, where they have a conversation with you now and you bring it back the next time and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Because they didn't ever listen the first time. They just weren't engaged. And so all that, makes a difference there.
In that scenario, Sandra, there are two things that are consistent: the communication and what you had to say.
Right.
If you can declare and give those and have that opportunity, you don't ever have to live with not saying what you would have said or should have said or whatever. However the person perceives it is going to determine either they're in your life or they're not.
Right.
But you shouldn't have to wonder anymore. You shouldn't have to guess about, is this going to be resolved? Where are we at with this? Your life is too important for that.
Yep.
So
I think we're done with the definition.
Yeah, we're done with the definition. Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting about 8 minutes to go before we're out of here. So
as we prior to this, Lynn, how has our conversation deepened for you in terms of integrity? From what you already knew prior to our show today to where it is now, what is kind of triggering in your mind as far as knowing integrity on a deeper level?
Well, here's a thing from Sandy first.
Okay, Sandra says, I am like that, speaking my mind, but often get told I am too blunt. Okay, I worked hard on listening skills, but words get shifted around. Then, okay, so that person's point of view, okay, too blunt. Why? Because you're telling the truth, or the person doesn't like to hear it.
Yeah.
Well,
then you're standing in your power, and if they're not listening, then you also need to take consideration. They're not listening. They're not accepting what you're saying.
But here's the thing, Sandra, is that they're in conflict with how you're delivering things, but they're still not coming clean about what they did made you feel.
Right.
That's all that matters. It doesn't matter the way you did it, as long as you get to some kind of completion one way or another.
Yep.
I love blunt people. Hey,
yeah, that's
Jen, I like you more and more.
Right. I love it. Yeah, no, it's so what's deepened for me is the fact that I realize my integrity is pretty deep, and yet there's still, it hurts my heart that, being undiagnosed with my condition and times that I had to break things with my, I didn't go to functions or this and that because of my health. It's still, it wasn't an excuse not to go, but it was a point where I would definitely tell people, I'm not sure if I can make it to your event, because I couldn't make those commitments. I would always leave myself. Sandra, thank you for your input.
Sandra.
We love you.
We're glad it helps.
We love you. I guess what we forget is we're so used to thinking about other people that we do need to think about ourselves, and think about the fact that if we don't protect ourselves and our advocate of, like, I'm telling you, being late, it doesn't doesn't work well with me. I mean, even when I have people come to my interview and say, Lynn, I'll be there 10 minutes early, and they show up 2 minutes early, I'm like, well, I guess the ball's in my court and I'll be happy there, but at least they showed up, So, I mean, integrity it's been some near and dear because of the way I've been treated in my life, from my mom not showing up and me being wondering for 2 and 3 hours in the cold if my mom was going to show up, if I was going to see my family, to, just, not having people stick to their word has been something that I've done my best to make sure that I could keep my word. And like you said, no excuse is any excuse. So how it's helped me is to realize that, that's one of the things I can't waver is simple things about people's word. Don't tell me a lie. Just be honest. Say, I don't have an answer, or I can't do that, or I can't commit. I can respect you saying not to commit than saying you're going to do something. Me make the plans to be there and you don't show up. Do you not think that maybe I had to make provisions to show up too? Like, can you be considerate?
Yeah.
It would have saved me freaking time.
The only person involved is the one that doesn't commit. You know what I mean? That's totally not true. Okay, Shannon, thank you for your contribution. Never got to wonder when you have blunt people in your life, and they absolutely, absolutely,
absolutely.
And here's the thing: is that Sandra, the word blunt that person used, it's like, okay, one person might perceive it as blunt, but they may not know what honesty is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe they've never had that in their life, or maybe they've never had somebody just be like, "Are you in or out?"
Yeah, being straightforward. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Instead of if I just ignore them, if I say nothing, if I whatever, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're just ignoring the situation.
Yeah, and like I said, I've just learned to be, I may talk, but there's a lot of things I don't talk about straightforward. Like I'll stop my thing, like, Lynn, you want to do this or that? And it's like, can I, will I, whatever. I'm like, and I don't try to put myself in the corner anymore.
And one of the other things I just want to share before we're out of here and we post up, Lynn, you want to post up the question and action stuff for tomorrow, is one other thing to point out, like based on what Lynn said, is that if you're in a situation where you can't do something that somebody else asked you to do, it is not a weakness to say no. It's not a weakness. It's honesty. You can't give more of yourself than what you have available.
Yeah.
I think, and that took a long time for me to overcome, because it's like, I want to do everything. Well, you only can do what you can. And what happens if you don't do it well? Well, then you got to do it over again anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's been hard for me. That's been hard for me, but I realize, Lynn, don't put yourself in a corner when you don't have to.
And here's the thing, in the moment, when you say, I can't commit to that, you're free and clear of it. But if you try to force it, then all of a sudden it might annoy you or nag at you to get it done. And then all of a sudden what seemed to be an opportunity to deepen something or to learn something or whatever it might be, now it turns into a chore. It started as this and it turned into something other. Nobody wants that.
No.
Some people are just not ready to hear and confront the truth 100%, or confront themselves, Shannon.
Yeah,
that's themselves.
They're easier to confront somebody else before their own damn self, and that's
or just ignore everything and then blame everybody else for what they're not willing to do.
Or they're the people that will ask you the question, but when you turn the question around them, they're like, "Who? What?"
If I was hypothetically, if I was to treat you like you treat me, would you still do it? Well, no. Well, then why are you doing it?
Oh, yeah. I've done that to people where I say, oh, let me tell you about a story that somebody came to me and told me that they wanted this like right now because they thought I should do it right now. How would you feel? And they'd say, I'd tell them to F off. I'm like, okay, there's your answer. Your answer to what? I'm telling you to F off. Why? Because you just said you wouldn't do it. Why do you expect me to do it? I mean, I love turning things around on people, because if you're going to come at me from that angle, expect me to come back to you in that same angle and expect to have that.
This role reversal thing is golden, because of somebody that has never considered that other person's point of view. They want to disregard the conversation and redirect immediately.
Oh, I love doing it all the time because I realize how many people don't even listen to half-assed things they say. And sometimes I do the same thing too, but I ain't stupid though. I ain't gonna ask you the question. If I can't answer the question, trust me, I ain't gonna answer you the question if I don't have it. So yeah.
What did Charles say there? I know that he had a comment. Cheers to you both. Great advice and thoughts. Maintain your integrity to others. Absolutely. Thank you for being here, Charles. You're a kindred spirit. We both love you.
And Charles, after I'm done here, I'm going to be messaging you just like I promised. So watch him leave.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I gotta go away. Mr. San Jose is on the map and on the clock, So our action step and question for you to consider until we join you guys. And then we got a little special tease for Saturday night. What specific area of your life are you bringing the utmost integrity to? Right now, if you're able to take on one area of your life, where are you looking with specificity to take the utmost integrity and put it towards? Is it your fitness, your writing, your marriage, family? What might it be? A skill, reading, who knows what? What specific area? It has to be specific if you're going to see movement or if you're going to feel a difference. What specific area of your life are you bring it?
He's bringing it. He's still stuck. Oh, Sandy, thanks for saying great show. I don't know what's going on. Brian, just bring it on. Great show. Need to turn it around. Yes, do that more often. You'll see. And Charles, I look forward to seeing you in a few minutes. I'm not sure. There's bring it.
My camera must sense when I'm fired up. I don't know.
Yeah, you got attitude.
I got some attitude. My camera black.
That's right. Sandy said great show. She needs to turn things around often.
Thank you for being here, Sandra. And then Lynn, you want to like a drum roll, please? Bring it on, Brian. Yeah.
Bring it on.
So Saturday night, we got a little teaser for everybody. If you are able and willing to join us on Saturday night, we'd love to have you. We're going to be back with Bubba in his dirty, bar for a little bit, catching up and seeing what's going on.
Guess what? I know that you might get to meet and talk to Catherine Franco, the actress. She's planning to stop by.
Yes.
And tomorrow night at my show, she has somebody that's debuting a brand new song, and we actually rehearsed it last night. This girl's song is going to be it's going to be broadcasting everywhere. Excellent. And she's going to play in the show, but she might even come at the bar and sing it for us.
Woo!
So I do know. And so if you guys want to rub with celebrities at that show, there will be, other than we are celebrities, but we're saying other than us, just us, we got other people that are going to join us. Yeah, here we go. There we go. High five.
Hey,
look at this. We love being goofy, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. We love what we do because of you guys. And we do get passionate and fired up about this stuff. Woo. And Monday is going to be the month of Valentine's Day. And so I'm going to want to talk about some of that stuff. And I wonder if some couples that are watching us now would have kahunas to actually come and talk with us and let us, I'd love to just start throwing that out there and seeing
that'd be excellent.
What couple, I mean, even one couple, I mean, Brian and I don't know, Brian, if we could get one couple and I put in $25, maybe I get you $25, give a $50 gift card, maybe if they could deal with being with us for 2 days.
You gotta bribe people now to get them on our show.
Well, no, not bribe them, but just like giving them incentive. Like if they have the kahunas to come to our show, and like, okay, we'll do everything we can to keep you guys together, but we'll be honest. If we think there's problems, we're gonna be honest. It's gonna be raw and real. So if you think you're a solid enough couple, I say bring it on.
Shannon posted a comment. Yes, we're grateful that you were here. Have an amazing day, Shannon. We're grateful for your participation today, and it's awesome to have you here.
Thank you, everybody. We're out of here.